Of course, people should learn, coding in 2026. It's still relevant, but not the way it used to be traditionally. So now learning coding is required because AI cannot do things end to end. So someone has to validate the code that has been written, someone has to review the code that has been written, and someone has to also check if it is properly architected, if it has been fine tuned, etc. So for those things, of course, it is very very important for uh, the developers to still know coding. So you cannot be doing any development without knowing the coding. But of course, the way it needs to be learned has changed significantly. Earlier people would have spent a lot of time spending, um, I would say, months remembering the syntax and making those small corrections themselves, etc. But now that is not that relevant. So overall learning should be in terms of understanding the code, how does the code flow, the frameworks, the architecture of it, data structure. So those are the more important things, and not just the syntaxes, etc.
Okay, so if AI can generate codes in second, why should a developer still learn programming?
Yeah, the developer should still learn programming because AI can generate code in second, but you cannot completely rely on the code which is generated by AI. So someone has to still review it. So it's not that I take a code from, let's say, Claude generated code, I just pick it and I can put it into a production environment. I would still need someone to review that. I would still need to see, I would still need someone to basically look into whether that fits into the overall architectural frameworks that are defined, etc. And if that is not happening, someone has to basically fine tune or tweak, make those tweaks in the code to adjust it to that particular thing. So that's where I would say that it's not just AI generating the code. uh, and developers do not understand anything about that code. I'll give you an example. So think of it, nowadays a lot of us have started using AI to generate, let's say, or to draft our emails, right? But it does not mean that I would simply not I do not need to know English, right? So while AI can draft my email, I would still need to review that email, make those changes, because AI has got a very limited context. It's not possible for us to provide all the context as a prompt. So AI generates what it gets with the limited context. But as a developer or as an architect, people need to have a bigger picture, or the entire context of that particular environment. And if there are some tweaks need to be done, those are to be done by the developers, or the tech leads, etc., right? So that is the reason why, even if your code can be generated in seconds, you cannot completely say that developers should not know the code.
Okay, so will AI eventually replace software developers or will the role simply change?
It will not replace software developers. I think it would replace some of the activities that developers do, I guess, the repetitive code, the boilerplate codes, etc. So those things, the role as part of their daily activities, some of these activities will change. It will change the way they work. It will not change the role completely. It cannot replace a software developer completely.
Okay, moving on, are entry level developers the most at risk because AI can already handle a lot of basic coding work?
I would say yes, to a great extent, not completely, but to a great extent, yes, because most of the times entry level developers, a lot of companies used to hire freshers, and it used to be a platform for them to also learn and do some repetitive tasks, etc., build some basic code, etc., which is now greatly handled by AI for a lot of companies, for a lot of implementations, etc. So yes, that is something which is correct to a great extent, I would say.
Okay, is learning a programming language still important or should people focus more on problem solving and understanding how software works?
A yes and no. So or I would say can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Is learning a programming language still important or should people focus more on problem solving and understanding how software works?
Okay, so yeah, I'll just answer the first part of it. Is learning programming? Yeah, if you want to get into technology, learning programming is still important. It's relevant, uh, and in addition to that, because now with that programming, it's not that you will be sitting and writing the program for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. So you can understand the overall scenario and take assistance from an AI tool to generate your code, right? So understanding those aspects is also very important. And learning programming, of course, to monitor, to review what has been built or what has been written is still important.
Okay, so next is what should a student learn first today? Coding, AI, or something else?
Uh, yeah, so it's not like coding versus AI. It is I keep on saying, so this is something which everyone needs to understand. So if I want to get into technology, if my domain is something where coding is used, you will have to learn coding. So it's not that AI replaces coding. AI is something which can facilitate coding in a faster or a more structured, organized way, right? So I would not say coding versus AI, but I would say learn code, understand the basics, understand the fundamentals, understand the frameworks, etc., and then learn AI, how you can use AI to get assistance in that. So that is the thing. So like driving is a skill. Now so someone who we cannot say driving versus the car engine power, etc., right? So the car that you are getting is what AI tools do. So these two things go hand in hand, and not like, oh, I know driving, I do not know the car, I do not need the car, or I have the car, I do not need driving. It's not like that. So learn coding, understand things, and then use AI to facilitate those generation of code, etc., in a faster manner.
Okay, diving a little deeper, will knowing how to use AI tools become more important than knowing how to code?
To a great extent, yes, because everything will possibly not, or every job role will possibly not require coding. But then there are going to be certainly, a lot of job roles which will require some sort of knowledge on AI, how you can basically ease your stuff using AI, etc. So, to a great extent, I would say yes. Eventually, knowing how AI works, or how AI tools can assist on some of the activities is, if we do a comparison, I'm not saying coding is not required, but coding is required only for a certain segment of professionals who are working on that programming, etc. So yeah, but otherwise, overall, if I look at a bigger picture, maybe knowing AI tools may be more important.
Okay. So, what skills will separate a great developer from an average developer over the next 5 years?
Great developer, yeah. So yeah, if I talk about say last 10 years back, so before I talk about 5 years ahead, what is going to happen? If I talk about 10 years back, there used to be scenarios where there is a program written and it's not getting executed properly. There is some issue and someone had to diagnose the issue, or someone had to troubleshoot that issue. Some small syntax error would basically start throwing error, etc. And that's where a lot of time was spent in learning those syntax, etc., and troubleshooting those things, etc. Now that thing is not needed anymore, because most of these straightforward things are done by AI, right? So if someone is starting today, and if so someone has to become a very good developer compared to an average developer 5 years down the line, a good developer should not just, of course, should understand fundamentals of coding, should understand the way it is working, but on top of that should also understand the data structure, architecture, framework, etc., the business problem it is solving, etc., rather than just focusing on the code part of it. Average developer will most probably just be good with knowing the code, and possibly knowing how AI tool can write the code for them. But a good developer would have would have different aspects included in that.
Okay, moving forward, should experienced developers be worried about AI, or do they actually have an advantage?
I would say again, worried about AI is not the right thing, and somehow this has started becoming some sort of a mental block, that people are saying that we should be worried about AI. So AI is here to make our lives easier. Problem is, the only problem or the challenge is with people who are not able to go beyond what they are doing right now It would, as I said, it would change the way things are done, but it's not going to change the actual activity that is done, right? So now with AI assistant, a developer has the power of using AI, who can basically, it's more like a magic wand in your hand, which can do things quickly for you. So that is giving you more power. So, I would say, remove that mental block that I should be worried about AI or something like that. It's more like, how do I leverage AI and how do I make use of it? So it's, additional power to developers, and they should, rather than, thinking about the negative aspects of it, they should start thinking of, how they can use it or leverage it to do their task activities more efficiently and more accurately.
Yeah. So if you were starting your career in 2026, would you still choose software development?
I would certainly choose software development because there are a lot of reasons for it. What software can do, a lot of other things cannot do. The kind of reach that you can have through software, you cannot have it through something else. So I think still, software would be my preference, but I would definitely not start the way I would have done, let's say 10 years back. Um, so I would try and learn the core technology stack, try and understand that. But I would at the same time try and see what all things can be done with the help of AI assistants, and what can be learned more, what further I can do in that particular aspect, rather than just focusing on um, the software itself, right? So bigger things can be, so maybe if I have to learn it now, I would start focusing on not just the code part of it, or not just the programming part of it. I would also start focusing on understanding the best practices, where AI cannot, things which AI cannot do, where manual review is required and all. That is what is going to add more value.
Okay. So can someone build a successful technology career without becoming a strong programmer?
Yeah, of course. Again, I think this is one of the myth. I have spoken to a lot of early, earlier career stage professionals, or I have met a lot of students, and I see that there is some sort of a, I would say that there's this kind of a myth which exists. Everyone feels that if you have to make a career in technology, you will have to be a good programmer. That is, of course, not the case, and especially that is not the case now. It has changed a lot, and it was never the same. It was never the case earlier also, but now it has significantly changed. So every professional in technology is not always writing code. They are there are several things. So there are architects who are not doing coding. There are solution architects who are doing solutioning but not writing program. There are DevOps engineers. So and then there are so many tools which uh, are which do not require you to write programs. So technology is beyond programming and coding. Yes.
Okay. So lastly, what advice would you give to someone who has just started learning coding in 2026?
Someone who has just started learning coding in 2026, my advice would be the same. I would say that do not confine yourself to the syntaxes itself. So I see there are two types of perspectives. So one perspective is that uh, learning coding, they would completely get into learning every aspect of coding too much in details and all, which will consume a lot of time and may not give you that kind of a result. Then there is another aspect. There are people who are saying that, oh, because AI can do it, and I do not have to do anything, so I'll not learn it at all. So both the aspects are to a certain extent not right. So we'll have to strike the right balance. So learn the coding, learn the fundamentals, understand the programming, understand what problem it solves. Parallelly, try and learn the AI tools which can help you do things faster in a more efficient way, and also try and understand the problem that it is solving, the kind of architecture, etc. Now, because AI can do a lot of those things for you, there is definitely a big scope for anyone, even for the people who are learning it at initial stage, to learn bigger things like architecture, frameworks, etc., rather than just focusing on the specific lines of code and syntaxes be done.
Yes, that's all for today. Thank you so much for being
Thank you.